Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I don't know how many of you guys heard, but there was some trials and tribulations in getting here this morning, between the 210 accidents and getting pulled over on whatever your guys' main road is in Pasadena that has a speed limit of like 25 apparently. But I do love Pasadena, and just didn't know that. But yeah, like Mike said, my name is Kyland, and I am from the Southern California, from the high desert originally, and high desert, there we go. All right.
We got one other.
Living in Orange County right now, working everywhere, all over Southern California. I was just in Seattle yesterday, or day before yesterday. So everywhere. Yes. So yeah, I mean, I just really would like to start out by thanking all of you guys here today for being here, and WeWork and Innovate Pasadena, but specifically everyone here that's taking a seat and listening to me right now. I believe time is the most valuable resource all of us have, so I don't take lightly the fact that all of you guys are sitting here and listening, and I want to respect and appreciate that. So I'm going to do my best to deliver information to make sure that all of you get some sort of return on investment, so that you get that something that you can take away that can help you in your business, that you're growing or that you're working at or that you're thinking about growing. And I have the most incredible slide presentation that you've ever seen, but we forgot any place that we could show it. So I just trust me, it would have been the best you've ever seen. Just believe these slides, man, out of this world. But I'm gonna do my best to go off memory, because at all the other cross-campus events we've had the slides, so I was kind of prepping that way. But if I have to look down my notes, I'm sorry. I'm not perfect yet. I'm still learning. But on that note, actually, I'm sure that a lot of you guys aren't fooled. You're not fooled by the suit and by the introduction and this sad attempt at growing manly facial hair that I've been working on for an embarrassing amount of time. I am young, and I know that there are some people in the room that have worked and owned businesses longer than I've been alive. And so if you heard the topic of how to save my business money, how to cut costs for a startup, then you may be wondering, what's this kid gonna tell me about how to run my business? I want to address that because that's not what I'm here to do. I've just been pretty fortunate to have experiences and mentors and lots of opportunities to learn skills that help me be valuable for businesses, employers, other startups that friends and colleagues and associates have started, nonprofits, and a wide variety of now my own business, one of my own businesses I'm working on, where Brian mentioned. And really, with all these experiences and mentors and opportunities that I've had, I'm obviously not more experienced. I'm definitely not smarter than you guys here, but I'd have to have been an idiot to have not picked up something helpful that I could share with all of you. So I'm going to do my best to get that done. And getting into the topic a little bit more, I want to talk about, there's traditional penny pinching. There's, as far as a business owner, you can affect the thermostat and make sure you have all low power consumption light bulbs, and don't flush the toilet unless it's number 2 or whatever that one is, and all those other little nuances that there you go. Leave it yellow, leave it mellow. But anyways, not focus too much on that one. But lots of penny pinching tactics, and you can read all about them, and they're really great, and they could be helpful. But what I want to kind of address is maybe those other outside cost-cutting techniques that don't readily come to mind for some individuals, and that aren't necessarily the first Google results that you find. And so the first one, actually, the first one, now I'm gonna have to look, now I'm already off. Sorry about that. So the first one is just don't let perfection be your standard. Mark Cuban, one of the Sharks, talks about how perfection is the enemy of profit. and profitability. And so on that note, I always think about not letting the standard of perfection affect your MVP, like when you're first getting out your minimum viable product. Not sure if anybody's heard of the Lean Startup. Is anybody? Awesome, great audience for gets the reference. Yeah, so Eric Rise, Lean Startup, he actually did an interview not too long ago where they were talking about how they conducted the marshmallow challenge, which for those, I see some heads nodding already, you already may know a little bit about that, and the group that he was talking about, they had groups of students, two very distinct groups of students that attempted the marshmallow challenge, which is 18 minutes to construct the tallest tower that you can using spaghetti, like uncooked spaghetti, certain number of yards of tape, string, and a marshmallow. And the key is that the marshmallow has to be on top. So that is the height that you're measuring. And so they took these two groups of students. Group A, all those students were broken up into teams, and they had an average height of 10 to 12 inches. And that's pretty good. I mean, spaghetti breaks really easily, so I thought that was pretty impressive. And Group B, all those students actually had an average height, though, of 20 to 24 inches, which was double the Group A. And what was really fascinating to me and what stood out to the study was Group A, what consisted of business students from grad school, business school, various universities. Group B was kindergartners. And so the key learning that they pulled out of that, though, the way that that happened was because the kindergartners got to work when the timer started. They started working, they started putting together their tower, and they ended up trial and error, build, done, we did it. And what they noticed that the business students were doing is spending a lot more time planning on how do we make this, the best tower, how do we get these right angles and whatever in, and so they ran out of time. They didn't get enough trial and error. So that I relate to cutting costs, because you can look at it and think that, multiple prototypes, if you're investing crazy amounts of money in multiple prototypes, that can cost you a lot. But if you're really just looking at how do we get out something that serves our audience, that serves a purpose, and solves a problem, and is able to improve people's lives, and that we can get feedback on it right away. And that's what MVP is all about, and that's how you cut costs, is by not spending 6 figures on a developer who, no offense to any developers in the room, but you may not necessarily need that your first stage just to get your website and your product launched and figure out if it works. So that was kind of number one. Number two, actually working off of marketing. So part of my background, my other work is in marketing at a marketing agency, and we do some of the most fun projects in the world. I mean, ranging from the Red Bull Stratos, when the guy jumped from space, and the skate park on a barge for Nike. A lot of crazy, awesome stunts and awesome marketing projects that I've been fortunate enough to work on and work with. But for starting out your business, or for a small business owner, agencies may not be the best option. And actually, I would say, this is coming from an agency guy, but I would say they're typically not. If you're a startup founder or a business owner, figuring out your own marketing has so many benefits, like not only for you getting to learn what it is that you're doing, but also just really learning the industry and the costs associated with it, and nobody knows your business like you do. So there's a lot of benefits around that, especially one of the things I remember too, some multi-million-dollar clothing brand organization was that one of the founders was saying how, actually it's Damon John from FUBU and from Shark Tank, maybe you know him there. He was talking about how he was selling his hats in the corner and selling his clothes and learning about marketing from the inside. So that way, once you get to that big stage, you actually end up knowing what things cost, so somebody can't tell you otherwise. And so he was talking about how, so that's not only a savings up front, but also in the long term as well. You end up saving a good amount of money and helping you cut your costs, which helps you serve more people. And so, and separate from that, the number 3 being build your team with equity. I mean, it's you gotta find the right people to build your business, and people who are invested in that idea and invested in your goal and your vision, that they want to work for that company that you're building. They're not there for a salary right away. I mean, and as far as cost cutting, like, it's pretty obvious. I mean, if you're paying a salary to somebody, you're not cutting costs, you're spending money, and especially the early stages, you may not realize exactly the type of people that you need. And the bottom line is that somebody who is invested in working with just off equity is really gonna be a lot better problem solver and a lot more invested in making things work and giving you their all, more than just an individual who comes in and is just there for a check. So build equity. And then number 4 is create a company culture of problem solving. Now this one, when I heard it and read about and studied it, I mean, I just love the concept, and it kind of plays in with all the other ones too. And so that is, create that culture in your company that is not looking to hire, that is not looking to do marketing agencies and marketing people online, and that isn't looking to go after what's perfect, and they're just trying to solve that problem. And when you really create that culture, when you're doing that as a founder or as a leader in your organization, then that actually gets spread throughout the rest of your team. And I brought Damon John a second ago. He was, that was one of the best stories, one of the best statements I heard about it, was how when he was selling those hats in the corner and selling those shirts, and that they were just sewing, him and his friends were just sewing out of the house. And he talked about going to a lot of rappers' music video shoots and getting the artists to wear the clothes, and they were at such a small stage, they'd be giving a shirt to, you know, LL Cool J or ODB and telling them how, like, yeah, like can you wear this shirt? And they'd be like, yeah, and he'd say, okay, cool, but I need it back after. And so, so they formed the music video, he'd have to ask for it back, and so, like, I got you later, don't worry. And there's funny stories about the one artist that wouldn't give him back the shirt, and I recommend looking it up. It's a pretty funny story. It's ODB, which when you look him up, you can find out what that stands for and why he may have not given back the shirt. So, but he was saying that, sorry, I got sidetracked. He was saying that when they would meet with their team and try and figure out what they're gonna do, they would sit around and think, okay, don't have a budget, don't have an agency. What are we gonna do with this hat? What are we gonna do with this shirt right now? And then you have that whole team that's in that company culture of, like, really thinking creatively, because you're working with limited resources, and, you know, scarcity sometimes is a parent of creativity, so that's what happens. And when you're doing that at the top and you're not looking to outsource that, and that's just the mindset that you're using, then it goes around to the rest of your team as well. So let's create a company culture of problem solving. And another one is utilize free resources. So, I mean, you have the obvious of Google and Google Drive, Dropbox, all those resources. There's tons of resources. I mean, you can do a search and find out that there's, you know, probably hundreds, is not an exaggeration, of resources that an entrepreneur or business owner can use for free. I mean, like I mentioned, Google Analytics, Google Drive are just incredible resources to start. And then you have things like Trello and Asana and all these other features that are out there, tools that are out there. And of course, social media itself. I mean, now we have access to this network of people that's unprecedented prior to the last, you know, few years. And just be able to connect, and the internet itself, of course, just being able to provide your products and connect with people all over the world. But there's free resources that are frequently available, more than we might think. I mean, you can go on a website and find out the exact type of, you can create a business plan for free, you can create a marketing plan for free, and there's all these tools that are specifically built for business owners. You can look at inventory, you can look at various other forms of employee management. I know I was talking to Jennifer here, that was over here, just talking, working in HR, and there's all these tools that can help you kind of figure out your HR that I'm sure she can tell you a lot more about and help you out with. But the resources out there are amazing. It's really easy to look at and to think like, okay, cool, let's get this this video conferencing service that we can use for our meetings, and it's like, well, you can use Skype for free or Google Video for free. But people often forget that because they're in this they're in this other mode that's like, okay, we gotta be super professional and super discreet, and we gotta hire this content marketing team instead of just using the free service that is available on your computer, on your phone. I mean, and you're using iMovie, and you look at, people sometimes go out of their way to create this impressive content when the number one and probably number 2 and 3, for sure the number one person on YouTube is a guy that films himself in his room like playing video games. And that's not high content production quality, and that's not what's needed, because it helps you get this authenticity, which is low cost and sometimes free. Number 6, the last one, is avoid the startup hype, startup life hashtags and all that. I mean, it's really easy to get lost in that. And I guess another way to put that is that super, we're business owners, and we only fly first class, and we have to have the office with the slide in it because that's cool and that's what's hip, and we gotta have a pool table and an espresso machine, and everything else that you're thinking about is not necessarily what you set out to do. And it's easy to forget about that. It's easy to start thinking about all these other features that you don't need. And one of the slides I had actually was you may know Conor McGregor?
Yeah.
Is his name? Yeah. So UFC MMA fighter, really big, was looking to be was number 1 and was going to continue, and he actually lost his most recent fight. And then there's this whole debate about him possibly retiring, and then I guess he said he was going to retire, but then yesterday the clarification came out. And yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, it could have been the day before, but I heard about yesterday. He had just released a statement that said how he was finding himself distracted by the hype of everything, by the interviews and the press and the videos and the magazine shoots and all those outside of what it is that he came to do, which was be a fighter and to train in his craft and his art, and that's what he does. And he found himself caught up in all this other hype, and that's why he lost. And so he was saying that he needs to step away from that. He wants to be competitive, he wants to get back, and he knows that that's what he needs to do. And I thought that was, pretty perfect for a pretty perfect analogy going into the sports world of seeing work in your craft and don't get caught up in whatever hype is happening around you. And be excited for sure, but you don't need to order 10,000 stress balls with your new logo on them. Just get out there and start serving your audience, serving your customers, and working with your team and being creative and figuring out new marketing strategies, and get your product out there to get feedback. And so those are essentially the 6 tips that I'm working off of. And for me, I hope that these are helpful for some of you guys. I really just am here because the way I was raised was to be the purpose of people is to help each other and to make lives better. And I grew up around, my grandparents moved over here from Mexico when they were young, and they started working 3 jobs at a time each, and my grandmother may have switched to 1 or 2 and when she had kids, and they were just after the American dream and after opening up their own business. And so they were able to do that, open up a tire shop, and I kind of was raised around that and around this business owners and that mindset, and was sweeping floors and working in the shop from about the time I was 9 or 10 years old, and cleaning and moving tires and everything. It was definitely child labor, but I know that now. But I was, but was still very thankful for the opportunity, because that helped me see business owners and entrepreneurs and how they contribute to their communities on a local level, and now because of the internet, global level. And that's what I've noticed a lot of successful people are doing, is that they're not starting a business. I mean, of course, money is great and resources are great. It allows you to do a lot more things, but they're starting a business because they see a problem and they know they have a solution that helps people, that helps people's lives improve. And I mean, if you're here, you're meeting people, you're working, maybe you're a business owner, maybe you're thinking about starting a business, maybe you've already started tons of businesses and now you're just helping other people with theirs. I just applaud that so much, because my goal now is just to help as many business owners as I can, because that allows us to have that reach of the local and global communities they affect, and I think that's important for everybody. So thanks again for all of you guys being here, and thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Kyland. And our apologies for not having the projector available. If you're okay with it, would you like to, if anyone's interested, and if you're okay with it, could you share your slide deck via email as like a PDF or something like that?
Yeah,
that way, in the event that someone missed something, or if you yourself, because I know you're kind of going through your notes instead of the actual images themselves, which could be very important. Yeah, maybe that might be fill in some blanks.
that'd be great.
So that'd be awesome. But yeah, I think, and by the way, PewDiePie, that's
Yes.
the guy that, the guy who's mentioning that like gets paid millions of dollars to sit in front of his computer, video record himself, reacting to video games, him playing video games. His name's PewDiePie, and he actually has his own like podcast TV show now. It's like ridiculous.
And a YouTube channel too.
Yeah, and I'm sure that had 0 operation costs. No, I take that back. Mountain Dew does cost something.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're gonna open up to Q&A now. Obviously, we only have one microphone, so we'll pass around the mic as best as we possibly can to people actually in the front row.
Yell, project.
Or actually, no. What am I saying? You're gonna get the mic, and you guys are gonna be, raising your hands and asking questions from the back. You're gonna have to shout just a little bit. So my apologies on that, and hopefully that'll work just fine. Okay, here we go. So raise your hand if you have a question. And John, you still want to try to orchestrate this, or are we just going to go from the hip?
I'll ask a question.
Okay.
I read on your bio that you're you co-founded /MyFees, right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about that? How did you get that idea? Why did you decide to start that business? And also maybe some examples of how you applied what you just talked about to the development of the business.
Well, I'm a genius, basically. That was no, actually, it's funny. It's perfect that Brian's here. Brian, my partner, actually came up with /MyFees, and I know he told you essentially it's like the kayak for credit card processing. So if you're a business owner, you go on, and he came from that world of credit card processing, and he essentially saw that there are a lot of companies out there, a lot of that were not necessarily transparent and not necessarily giving their customers the best service and the best with avoiding the hidden fees. Like, not everybody's as good as this guy over here. What was the name of Mr. Sorry, Chris. Not everybody's as honest and open as Chris. So there's all these shady companies that are doing these shady practices, and he wanted to find that solution. So that was /MyFees. And so for us, it was just those things basically. It was not using a marketing agency, kind of using our own problem solving. And for me, it was different because I've only worked with big brands as far as on the marketing side, and then services that are direct to consumer. And this was one of the first real ventures I had that was working on a straight B2B in this particular way. And so for us, it was a whole new thing about, like, you have that first instinct, wanting to find a marketing agency, wanting to hire people to take care of small tasks for you, but sometimes to watch out for that bottom line and to really get that growth, the type of growth that we've been fortunate enough to have, really took that creativity, and so that's what we kind of pushed. That's why I kind of pushed the creative thinking and create the company culture, because that's what we've had in our team, and we've been fortunate enough, the same thing with building that team with equity, that we haven't really had to hire people, and we've just been kind of working off of the passion of our partners, and fortunate situations and meetings and opportunities. So those are the main ways. And for us, and we didn't get an office with the slides, so that was the other thing, avoiding the hype.
Questions? Raise your hand. Go ahead.
What would you say are the things that people, once they start, forget or do wrong on their way to growing businesses?
So for those who didn't hear, the question was, what is it that people tend to forget as they are building their businesses? And I'm glad they use that word, because one of the things that known to be true is that it's more often that we need to be reminded instead of taught. There's plenty of things that we've all heard, that we all know, and that are really simple. So on that note, I'm trying to think of what I see commonly. I mean, it is those little things. I mean, somebody opens up their business and the first thing that they want to do is, when we almost fell into ourselves, is that you want to get, all right, let's order some pens and stickers that have our logo on them. And it's like, well, good thing we didn't do that, because we already changed the logo from when we first started. So that would have been pretty tricky. So the hype one, I think, is really easy to forget and to fall out of because you're just excited. And then other things that people tend to forget is just what they're doing, in the sense, or why they're doing what they're doing. And so you get caught up in little details of like, oh, let's figure out this aspect of the website, or this aspect of accounting or whatever. You get caught up in small details, and you're like, wait, you forget to step back. And what is it that we're looking at? We are a business that we built to help moms. And let's think about the moms. Let's not think about us in this detail here. So those are probably two things that stand out. Yeah. Yes.
Can you stand when you ask your question so we can hear a little bit better? Thanks.
I can mic. Yeah. So all businesses essentially have services that they absolutely need. Do you have any suggestions for saving money on those essential services when you're a startup?
Yes. If you are looking for a way to process payments, you can use /myfees. No, but as far as the other things starting out, I'm trying to think. Can you give me an example of like some of the costs that you're thinking of?
So like, I might need IT services. Right?
Okay.
I might need printing services.
Okay, looking for IT and printing services.
Join
So,
B&I.
what was that?
Join B&I.
Join B&I. There you go. There's a networking group. Networking groups are huge, and that's actually where I would push. I mean, to plug in. Innovate Pasadena. These guys, Mike and Michael, put together amazing events and amazing speakers, and just an awesome group of people that come from such a big, wide variety of background that I found a guy at one of the events that helped me with some financial services, some other financial service information. And then there's, that's probably one of the best ways to go about it, because you can do a Google search, and that's what comes to mind, and that's what's simple, and you can get reviews, and that could be helpful. But you're not gonna, ads and SEO are so complex that like you could still be being directed somewhere and you don't really know, versus like when you're somewhere face to face with somebody and then you get to talk to them and then they tell you like, hey, here's what I do. It's a lot easier to trust them, for better or for worse. But typically if you're around these type of events, the people there are there for the genuine purposes, like Mike said, to just help and serve each other. And so that's probably the best route for most asks. And if you have any other specific asks that you can't find in this group, then you can ask me or anyone else here. I'm sure we can help direct you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
Good, how about you?
Well, first, thanks for your time and for sharing all your knowledge. I appreciate that. But my question is, for social networking, developing an app right now, what would you say is the best way to market it and get the most users versus search engine, optimization, etc.
So you-
that could be costly.
Okay, so the question was, you're developing a social media platform and you want to figure out how to attract users without having to invest some money in SEO?
Yes.
Okay, so there are several avenues that you can go, and this isn't specifically social media on the digital SEO side isn't my specialty, but from my understanding, one big aspect has been content, developing good content that is easily consumable and helpful, whether that's videos or whether that is reviews, or whether that is just blogs that you're writing yourself. Blogs are tricky too, because there's so many of them now. They're so accessible. So that one's if you have a really specific niche, I forget that word, the preference there, but then you can definitely go that route. And if you have a specific audience, so what I would recommend also is, I'm guessing that you're a part of whatever group you're trying to, your target market. If you're doing social media, I'm guessing you're a part of it. So I would find the other people that are a part of it and start kind of building that network organically and figuring out like exact use, and especially if you can find a team. So I know that we had a situation with one of our companies where it made the most sense to reach out to mom bloggers, and because we had a product that was specifically for children, and instead of being your own blog, you can actually find that audience or find those group of people who are speaking to your audience. So if there's an influencer, and we always think of influencers as those people who are celebrities that you have to pay lots of money to, but sometimes there's literally thousands of individuals who are writing blogs and posting on social media that do it because that's something that they like and they consume. And so if you're creating a social network that's going to benefit them, then, and you give them that exclusive first look access at it, then they're going to, not all, but some are going to appreciate it. And so it's going to be a matter of that trial and error too, and getting out there, and that mentality of the kindergartner of just doing it and reaching out and seeing what works. And that's can be tricky when you're starting out and you're trying to build some sort of revenue, but at the same time, like if you have the time, that's the way I'd spend it for sure, is reaching out to them directly.
We got time for one more question.
Oh yeah.
Could you talk about, with the businesses you've been involved in, any like personal stories of just like major failures where you had to learn a lesson the hard way?
Oh man.
This is good stuff.
I said one more question. And there's too many answers to that now. Jeez. Right. We had a first iteration of the company actually, and I don't know why I'm holding the mic like this. I just realized I'm covering my face half the time. So there was a first iteration of Slash My Fees with a different group of partners that essentially just had the wrong team and ended up losing, 50 grand in like a matter of months, and just spending money without having the team behind the team all putting in effort, and that is always going to matter. So there's that tricky part about building your team with equity. It matters, and it especially matters for your core team. And so for me, that was a big lesson, that in not just figuring out the people that you're working with, but figuring out a way to keep each other accountable in some sort of consistent way. Because when you are working, especially if you're working another full-time job, or if you're working on multiple companies, or maybe you're just a consultant and you're freelance, or a student, or whatever you're doing, if you're working on multiple projects, everybody has multiple things going on in their lives, and then you have children and a social life or whatever else you have going on that can pull you in a million different directions. And so sometimes you have the right people and they just don't have the right amount of time, or they lose track of time. Or sometimes you have people that have tons of time that weren't really the right people. And so, and sometimes it can be a combination of either of those things. So, and life happens, people get sick, people move, and plenty of other things happen. So being conscious of what your team's doing and how you guys are growing and what's needed all the time, and regular check-ins, because when you're your own boss, it's frequently I think there's some quote, like frequently the person who can hold you least accountable is the person sitting back in the mirror. That you could be your own worst boss. And so bringing in that other mentality of holding yourself to that higher standard, and that's something that I had to do, and something that then allows you to more naturally and more powerfully hold other people accountable as well. And so, you have to find that fine line of like excuses versus, just time when you need help. And That's what best to answer that question right now. But we can talk about that more whenever. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. So if you guys want the slide deck, you can exchange email information with Kyland, and you can get that too. We have well, a couple things. Let's get the photo, Kyland, of our beautiful audience. Stand right about here, and face me. It's always helpful, right? If you get step back just a little bit. That should be good. Nice. And if anyone wants to photo around the back, smile. Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Okay. A couple of quick announcements. Well, number one, I'd just like to thank all the co-organizers for doing what we do on a week-to-week basis to help curate this amazing experience. Without your guys' help, and honestly, without the help of the audience, without you guys being here, again, we would just be at a coffee shop with like a dozen people. So I'd like to thank all the co-organizers. Please raise your hand to be acknowledged. So we got John and Tyrone and Mike Schaefer. Is Andy still here? Andy? Oh, he just left, okay. Chuck and myself, Michael. We try to create an amazing experience for you guys, and we really appreciate it. We really appreciate the pleasure to serve. It is a pleasure to serve, to be at service and help you guys and do this week to week. And it's just fun. I like it. In any case, Michael, would you like to do the NASA? Isn't JPL?
Yeah, it's closed.
It's closed.
Yes.
You just grilled me last week
Yes,
about not
that's why we
doing
did
the shout out.
That's why we did last week.
Okay. So it's done.
Well, it's full.
Okay, it's full. Can people go as visitors?
No.
No. Okay, forget all that.
Yeah.
My bad.
That's why we did it last week.
Okay, sorry. Epic failure on that one. So yeah, NASA's having a hackathon, and yeah, I guess it's, you know, without even needing to announce it, it's already full up. So in any case, next week we're going to be at Epic Spaces. The address is on our meetup page, so please check the details. Do not accidentally come here or across campus. We won't be there. And yes, we are actually going to be at Epic Spaces. So if you go to cross campus and we're not there, it's not that we failed you. Oh,
Is Epic Spaces the one that's by the 680 house?
The Playhouse.
yeah, it's by the Playhouse. That's the one it's on Colorado, right across the street from Blaze.
Right.
So yeah, if you have any questions on that, you can come talk to me, or you can check the meetup page for the details. And I think that's pretty much it. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me again on a beautiful Friday morning, and we'll see you guys next week.